Hi, my name is Michelle. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in November 2010. I have had my operation, which was a mastectomy at the St Michael's. I've been through chemotherapy and radiotherapy at the Sunrise Centre, and obviously had lots of frequent visits to the Mermaid Centre in between. This experience was quite long, I suppose, but in the end it seems very short now. When I was diagnosed, I felt as though my life was over, I think. I think cancer is a very big word for all of us. But time moves on, and I know it seems a very long time when we're starting off the treatments and you've got the surgery, then the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy, and it all takes maybe 6 months in total to get over. But now it's 18 months down the line for me, and I just can't believe where the time's gone. And I'm so positive and I'm happy, and it seems like a bad dream now in comparison to what it was when it all began. And the light is there at the end of the tunnel for all of us, and it just takes time for us to actually get there. And now life is back to normal. I'm at work, I've got hair, and life just moves on. When I was first diagnosed, I had awful feelings and anxiety, I suppose, but the process you go through with all your appointments, getting results, sometimes results take a bit of time, and it's frustrating, but the process does work, and you get through it, and it is best that it's all stage by stage, because it helps you cope with the information that you're receiving. Too much information all at once, I don't think you could actually cope with. And if you take it as a stage process, then you manage to deal with the information. It's very important when you go for your appointments that you have a partner or a friend sitting with you, because you don't always remember what the consultant says, because I think you don't want to remember, and maybe you don't want to ask questions either, because you're so concerned about what the answers are going to be. So to have a partner there or a friend is vital to make sure that your interests are looked after, and they can ask questions on your behalf if you can't think of anything to ask. When I was diagnosed, I was given a file. The Mermaid gave me a file which contains loads of information about your operation, radiotherapy, chemotherapy, the support groups, and everything. And that file gives you a font of information to use and digest at your leisure, not all at once maybe, depending on the person, but as a store of reference to begin you off. It's very simple, understandable, and was an amazing aid to somebody being diagnosed with breast cancer. When it came time for my operation at St Michael's, I was a little bit apprehensive, as you can imagine. I was worried about the anaesthetic and its effects, but in the end there was nothing to worry about. I wasn't feeling sick afterwards. The operation itself went off really well. It was a long operation because I had my reconstruction at the same time as my mastectomy, but at the end of it, I woke up and I had a pair of boobs, and I was happy. And that was the first thing I looked at when I woke up. And it's all been uphill from there. I think once I'd had the operation, I knew the cancer was gone. That was the beginning of my journey, and I was on the road to recovery. And they looked after me beautifully at the St Michael's. The nurses were wonderful, and it was a much better experience than I could ever imagine it was going to be.
Brilliant. Thank you.
The chemotherapy was a milestone, something my family were very concerned about, but I was just really positive that I had to do. It wasn't as bad as we all thought it was going to be. I was extremely tired, spent a lot of time asleep, but I wasn't sick once throughout the whole event, and I think that was what I was most afraid of. spend, I've got visions of spending all my time sitting next to the toilet, but not once was I sick. So the side effects didn't seem so bad for me. The experience shunted on. Once you got to the halfway mark, you felt as though you were coming towards the end. If if it's like ticking a box every time you've had your chemo, that's one less you're going to not have again. The worst was losing the hair. I will not lie there. It's not a nice thing. But look at it now. This is only sort of, I suppose, 8 months of hair growth now, and I'm just chuffed to bits that I've got a lovely head of hair again. And so the loss is nasty while it's there, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, in that your hair will grow back. And I know we're all impatient. I'm impatient for it to get even longer than it is now, and I think that's just human nature. I started taking tamoxifen after I'd had the radiotherapy, which most of us are on, depending on your state of menopause as to what they give you. The biggest side effect of the tamoxifen is the hot flush situation, which ladies will be familiar with if they are postmenopausal. In my case, I was premenopausal, so it's frustrating, laughable. You get used to wearing lots of layers of clothes because you need to be able to sort of take a few off to make yourself cool again. I actually enjoy going outside in the cold sometimes, and people laugh at me because I just need to cool down. And I know this is going to be there for sort of 5 years while I take the tamoxifen, but I think the benefits of tamoxifen way outweigh the actual hot flush situation, which will eventually end, I know. When it came to radiotherapy, you go to the Sunrise Centre to have a CAT scan to put markers on you, so you're measured for your radiotherapy to make sure that the dose is very specific where they want it to be. They tattoo these markers, which is very, very tiny. I can't even see my markers anymore. And then once they've done all that, your radiotherapy can begin. You have, or I had, most people do, 3 weeks of 5 sessions. It only takes about a minute to actually receive the radiotherapy. It takes more time to actually get your body lined up on the machine than it does to actually have the radiotherapy itself. There was no discomfort receiving the radiotherapy, and you just sort of got dressed and off you went. My breast tended to be warm at the end of after about a week of radiotherapy, the effects began to show. But all it was I felt as though I'd got a warm breast in comparison to the other one. The nurse was very sweet, and she told me to put a white cabbage on my breast and to help it, soothe it, and it actually worked. I was amazed. So something very natural, very nice, but quite weird, I suppose, to have next to your skin. So by the end of the 3 weeks, you walk out and you feel free, and you've finished your treatments, and you can move on. There's no more regular hospital appointments to turn up to every other week, and you feel as though life gets back to normal after that point, which is great. You receive your appointments for the radiotherapy, and it's a set time every day, generally the same time of day, so it's a regular thing. The appointments are like clockwork. You are in and out of there within 10 minutes of actually walking in. You are back out of the doors of the Sunrise Centre again. It works really efficiently. So the rest of the day is yours. So whether you then go into Truro, have coffee, you can do anything else for the rest of your day. You're free. And at the end of the whole of the radiotherapy, it's all finished, and you move on. While I was going through my first diagnosis, Ian Brown, my surgeon, and my breast nurse, Sarah Z, told me about the support groups at the Mermaid Centre. And I was a little bit unsure as to whether to go along. Not something I ever thought that I'd actually need. But I did, literally about a week after my surgery, go to my first meeting here at the Mermaid. And it was just wonderful to see such a lovely group of ladies with loads of hair because I knew I was going to go through chemo, looking really, really well. Some of them 5, 2 years, 10 years down the line from their diagnosis. And it just gave me hope, and that my future was going to be fantastic too, and there was a future for me. I have continued going to this support group every month ever since, and we are there for each other to tell each other our fears, our hopes, help with dealing with any treatments we're having, questions that may seem really silly to ask a surgeon or a breast nurse, but maybe we can all help each other out. If it's something that we can answer, we will talk about it. And there's also a breast nurse at the support meeting, so if it's something more specific or technical, then she's there to help us as well. And if we need to be referred on, then she's there to make appointments for us if that's necessary too. There are various support groups for the Mermaid Centre, depending on your age, and the breast nurses can give you the contact details and the nights that they're actually on. Apart from the actual meetings that we do, we've actually all become very good friends, and we do fundraising together. There's a ball in September, which a lot of us attend. I organised a race night to raise money for the Mermaid Centre itself last November, which we had an absolute blast of an evening. It was really good. We all, as many of us as possible, do the Race for Life, which I did this year for the first time, and we all ended up on the beach having a picnic, and we had a great afternoon. So we socialise with each other in between meetings and see each other. So we have made friendships and that we would never have made usually, maybe, and the support that we get from this fellowship and friendship is stunning.